3 o'clock on this Friday. Welcome into the DMV zone. We got a lot to get to, including our big story of the day, as it's a busy day. So let's jump right in. And of course, it's that weekend weather. And we had some storm damage across the DMV late last night. Cleanup underway all day today. And now we're tracking even more storms. Let's give you a live look right now from Prince William Marina, where things are looking okay at this hour. But that's about to change. Caitlin Roth is tracking that weather for us. And all things calm for now. But later this afternoon, Caitlin, things could start to pick up.
Exactly. And as we saw yesterday, Marina, these storms can intensify very quickly, and they'll bring some wind damage that takes down trees, and it instantly becomes a dangerous situation. You don't have to have a tornado or rotation to get damage and to threaten life and property. So we are only concerned about straight line winds as we get into this evening, but that still brings a big threat. As we look at satellite and radar right now, not much happening. The first storms are starting to bubble up just to our west, but otherwise it's been a sunny, hot and humid day without a lot going on. That should change pretty rapidly in the next couple of hours. So first cell right here on the Fauquier and Loudoun border has just gone up, and then there's a couple downstream of them. These are not severe yet. They never just start severe. They need to grow and feed off of their environment to intensify. So we'll see. Really interesting to see how these first cells develop. You know, do they really grow and expand off to the east and eventually form a line, or is it going to be more of a popcorn situation? I think we're going to get that line because we've got a cold front as the trigger coming in. As a result, severe thunderstorm watch out for the whole metro. This goes until 9 p.m. The only exception is our far northern Maryland counties, so it looks like the energy is a little bit better to the south. Heat advisory also runs until 8 p.m. So now we get into that part of the day where the heat meets the storms, and we have dual threats as we start off the weekend. And the heat has been unrelenting. 98 degrees is the air temperature in D.C. right now. Leonardtown up to 99, Culpeper 96, Martinsburg 93, Westminster 98. Those dew points are very high again. They're actually not as high as yesterday, interestingly, upper 60s here in the metro versus the low to mid 70s. So I'm curious to see how that will play into storms later on this afternoon. We had higher dew points yesterday. Here's a look at our short-range guidance for thunderstorm development. It definitely shows a lot happening in the next hour to an hour and a half by 4:30. It's also picking up more of this southward trajectory of the storms, really from D.C. south. You see everything stored of fire. This has it in kind of two different clusters, so potentially that storm threat is from now until about 8:30. If storms linger past sunset, they should weaken pretty quickly, and then we will clear overnight. So your typical hot, humid couple of days, cold front approaching leads to some strong thunderstorms. And again, the biggest concern is straight line winds, which can do just as much damage and cause just as many problems as a tornado. So that's what we're watching into this evening, heavy downpours. But these storms are quickly moving, so it's not like we're going to get a lot of heavy rain. Into the weekend, we see that drop in humidity tomorrow. It's a nice day, but then it rises right again by Sunday. And Sunday, we have another threat for severe thunderstorms. This will largely impact the metro. And of course, with the match downtown, the UFC matches, that will be impactful Sunday afternoon and into Sunday evening. So enjoy Saturday. It's a beautiful, less humid day, 89 degrees. And then by Sunday, we're back at it again. The good news is, as we jump ahead to the 7-day forecast, next week looks quieter, at least to start. Heat breaks Monday, nice temperatures Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll watch for some thunderstorms later on in the week. So just getting going right now. I'll be back at 3:30 with another check of radar, Marina.
All right, we'll be waiting for that. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Let's move on to topic number 2 here, because like you heard Caitlin say, storms are brewing, muggy weather out there on this weekend out on the White House lawn, and President Trump's UFC fight facing a tough opponent with all the weather we're watching and so many other factors. Axios reporter Anna Spiegel with us now. And Anna, I think one of these things about what is expected for the summer, kicking off with this weekend, is the rollout and the details have been late breaking. We learn of them just as it's happening, but at the same time, we don't even know if there's contingency plans in place, given the fact that this could be disrupted this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. I think, UFC's president has gone on record saying the fight is going to go on no matter what. There could be snow, there could be lightning, probably not going to be snow, but there could be a lot of other things, and it's going to go on. They do have a little canopy over the octagon, so the fighters are going to be protected, but that won't stop the regular things that, impact all of our events here in DC during what feels like the summer: bugs, moisture, mugginess, and rain.
Yeah, so what are we expecting here? How many people are expected down at the lawn? I mean, this rig is massive, and we've been seeing it for weeks being built here in anticipation of it. The president's saying that maybe they keep it there in perpetuity. What do we know of as to what to expect and who to expect?
Yeah, absolutely. So, within the, there's tens of thousands of people within the kind of octagon area. And then the ellipse can also fit another almost 100,000 people, depending on how many people show up. Again, if it's going to be pouring rain, that might keep some folks away. But those free tickets were issued, I believe, in May. So many people might be down there. We don't know yet when it might come down after the fight, or if it will come down, as you mentioned. So stay tuned.
I think one of the things that I think it's great in your interview with the bug guy here, obviously, if you've been out at all in the last couple of weeks, you know that we've got all of our usual suspects out and about for this time of the year. But especially when you were talking to people, the gnats seem to be the one thing that is like, you cannot swat enough of them out because they're always there regardless.
Absolutely. It's peak gnat season. And actually, this is what the UFC president, he brought up. He's like, he went to the Rose Garden when it was newly reopened. And he's like, there's so many gnats. And so, yes, you'll see gnats, you'll see midges, you might be winged beetles, there'll be moths. My bug expert tells me there will also be bats. But these winged creatures, they probably won't interact with the audience very much. Like maybe there's some gnats that kind of fly in your eye. But, there's other bigger things to worry about.
And I think one thing that's interesting, too, is that not everybody's on board, including one of the largest voices out in media right now, Joe Rogan, a fighter himself, just talking about that you may be putting these fighters in unnecessary situations here. What was he talking about?
Yeah, so I think it's really unusual to have a UFC fight outside. I think this is only the second one on record. And so kind of exposing fighters to the elements who are usually, already in very difficult athletic sport, very physical, to extra elements like rain, to potentially gnats, things of that sort. But some of the fighters have actually gone on record and saying, hey, we're just really excited to do this. This is the biggest stage we've ever been on, especially with the White House, with the president. It's an honor to do this. I think Michael Chandler told reporters that he's, happy to go through with a bug in his eyes, as long as he's better than his opponent.
No, I mean, when you're a fighter like that, these bugs is the last thing you want to worry about.
Exactly, yeah.
But given the fact that we do have the potential for thunderstorms, that main card there later into the night, there's a possibility that may not go on as Dana White would like to see.
Absolutely. And also Metro is staying open now. They just announced today they're going to be open, I think, until midnight if it goes later, so people can get home safely.
Okay, that's good to hear, definitely, because if you're not at the White House, you may be at one of the nearby bars there spectating or taking in some of the vibes downtown. Always good to talk to you, Anna. Thanks for the update here.
Thank you.
Ahead of the big fight. Let's move on to topic number 3 here, as the Justice Department has filed a federal lawsuit against Virginia, arguing new state laws that limit mask use by federal officers require identifying information, and they restrict ICE partnerships with local agencies unlawfully interfering with federal law enforcement operations. We've got criminal defense attorney Joseph Tully to break it all down. And this has been a huge back and forth between the federal government and state jurisdictions over how these federal agents present themselves in the public eye. What's going on and what's the latest here, Joseph?
Well, you summed up the issues very well. Virginia wants to regulate federal officers from using masks and using anonymity. There's been a lot of issues where citizens don't know if they're dealing with legitimate law enforcement or if these are imposters. These are masked people who have no identity, and that creates a lot of issues. On the other hand, law enforcement says, listen, we need safety. We can't be doxxed. But what's interesting is that this issue goes all the way back to our country's founding, essentially back to 1819 and 1920. It's a concept known as intergovernmental immunity. And the Supreme Court has already ruled on 2 key cases that will be crucial here to understand. One was from 1819, where Maryland attempted to regulate the United States Bank, and the Supreme Court said the power to tax is the power to destroy. We can't have a federal institution that can be destroyed through taxation by the states. So the federal government won there. The second one is Johnson v. Maryland from 1920, where Maryland tried to make sure that federal post office employees had a state license, and the Supreme Court said you can't regulate federal officers from doing their job. So here the precedent is somewhat set. But I think it's a very, very important question. You could almost flip a coin. The court could go either way on this issue.
Yeah, but here with the federal government suing Virginia, where are they doing that? Are they suing in the Commonwealth? Are they suing federally? What does that look like? Because clearly you're saying that the federal precedent here supports the DOJ, at least for these two cases that you just mentioned. And the DOJ saying if we reveal identities and we have these officials out and about making arrests, especially in this day and age, there's the possibility of doxing. It creates an atmosphere that could negatively affect these officers. And that's part of their argument as well.
Sure. Yes. The argument in some from the federal side is officer safety. However, that is always used. And actually, you always have to be careful. It's a slippery slope. Tyranny has brought in very slow measures in certain countries under the guise of safety, under officer protection. I think the one distinguishing issue here that the court may use in terms of distinguishing this modern issue from the previous issues is that, number one, Virginia is seeking to monitor or regulate all law enforcement. So they're not singling out federal officers. They're saying no law enforcement officer can use a mask and not have any identifying information. There has to be some identifying information. And then they're not requiring the federal government or federal officers to do anything. They're prohibiting them from doing something, wearing a mask and not having ID. So there is some wiggle room on both sides. Like I said, it'll be very interesting to see where this turns up.
Do we have a kind of a timeline here? Because this has been playing out for so much time as to when we're going to know how this is adjudicated?
For me, I've learned that you can never have a prediction market for how courts or when courts are going to decide something. There's so much wiggle room. There's, reasonableness. I think this issue will be decided sooner rather than later because it is so eminent in today's society. It's such an important issue that needs to be addressed, but I can't say when it will be decided.
Yeah, we've got so many federal law enforcement agencies that have flooded the zone essentially here, especially in the DMV. We'll be waiting to hear what comes of it. Joseph, always good to have you and to get your legal insights on that. Stay with us here on the DMV Zone. We're going to take a quick break and we're talking Iran on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.